Hey there riders, MotoJourno Chris here today, and as you can see I've cleaned up the rear of my Sparkpillion 401 pretty immensely with the addition of the R&G tail tidy. And what we've basically done is we've taken that big ugly kind of extender off the end of the swing arm, which the main part of that is a big bit of aluminium which is actually quite heavy, and then we've replaced it with this quite lightweight R&G tail tidy. Now, I actually had someone send me out a very inexpensive tail tidy, which was essentially a 2 mounting point system with a little bit of room for a license plate to be fitted to it, and unfortunately that just didn't work. And I'd probably recommend, after that experience, making sure whatever system you do purchase has the 4 mounting points under the tail, because obviously it's kind of cantilevered out past the tail light, and as a result that does mean that, you know, the bouncing of the rear, it's going to need a bit of strength to hold it on. Now, the R&G has super impressed me. As far as the build quality, what was included in the package, there was a couple of tiny things that I think could have been improved, but I kind of see why they didn't do them. So let's go through kind of the whole process now very quickly. The most complicated part of this entire job was not fitment of the R&G tail tidy. The most complicated part was removing the stock license plate holder and essentially just getting the wiring back up and through into the tail, because it's run through this chain guard here, which actually has kind of like a hollow protected section in it for that wiring, and as a result you do need to take this off. You need to kind of fiddle around. It was the most time consuming part of the job. Then when it came to installing the R&G, there is a bit of assembly required. I used the stock indicators because I think they're a really good indicator. I like them. They plug straight into the bike, kind of tick all the boxes for me there, and I didn't really want to mess around with putting on aftermarket indicators or paying for aftermarket indicators when I've got perfectly good LEDs right here standard on the bike. The R&G tail tidy was 320 bucks Australian. So I would say that's, you know, that's a fair chunk of change for a small unit. However, at the same time, the build quality is really good. Obviously, you know, you've got like the R&G embossed on that little license plate protector or light protector. You've got the R&G through the plastic or the metal here, and that's a cutout. And then while it is quite simple, it's a very elegant solution. So I see where you're paying for, and certainly looking through kind of what's included in the package, it's quite an in-depth package which offers a lot of little bobs and bits, which again, you know, that's not what you get when you pay bottom dollar for most of these kits, which I can attest to because that's what I tried to start off with and it certainly didn't work at all. So for 320 bucks, obviously you're just getting the license plate light there, you're getting the holder with the 4 mounting points, which as you can see, the mounting point, like it uses a mounting kind of plate on either side with the 2 bolts into the subframe, and there is a little bit of a gap here and on the other side, but that's probably pretty unavoidable unless they kind of really did something quite magical and made it a perfect fit to the contours of the bike, which would again make it a lot more expensive because the design would just be a lot more in depth to do that. The license plate is far enough off the back of the bike that you shouldn't have any issues with clearance on the wheel. I certainly haven't so far, even coming down this section where there's some bigger bumps, but because they're all full of water at the moment, I was avoiding them. But I think as you can see here, you should have a good amount of clearance. My one complaint with the system is there's these little rubber boots here, which are designed to kind of hide the bolt and the wiring of aftermarket indicators. And they're clearly designed for if you purchase the R&G indicators, the LEDs that they offer. And as a result, kind of the end of the boot, it's too narrow for the plug that comes on the standard indicators. Now, I don't really want to be messing up my wiring loom, which is why I liked keeping those standard indicators, but it did mean I had to cut the end of the boot off to get the plug through. And then essentially I just used a little bit of electrical tape to clean that up. So it looks fairly clean, but to be honest, if R&G offered a boot with a slightly larger opening that would take the standard indicator kind of clip, the wiring loom clip, it would solve that issue enormously. I'm sure they want to sell their own LEDs, but to me that would kind of take the whole kit from a 95 up to 100 because I'm really, really impressed otherwise. Overall, it is on the pricier side of things, especially for such a small modification. However, having bought tail tidies in the past, I think they normally run around $200, $250. So you're probably only spending like an extra 100 or maybe, 70, depending on what you're otherwise looking at compared to what I've seen in the past. And I do think the R&G quality and the build quality and the kind of the inclusions and everything certainly make up for that difference. So I'm very, very impressed there. We've saved a little bit of weight hanging off the swing arm, obviously. I feel like it's a much cleaner look for the bike, which is something that I really like because the Sparkpillion 401 is pretty minimalistic and stylish to start off with, so this very much plays into that. And really, there's not much more to say. I would recommend the R&G tail tidy for the Sparkpillion 401. You do need to be careful what model you're buying it for. This was the 21 onwards tail tidy. I believe prior to that there was a slightly different mounting system. And some people did report that they had issues fixing the old system, the old R&G tail tidy onto the new one. I think this is was a while ago that I was looking into this. However, generally speaking, I think it was possible with some mucking around, but you just buy the R&G tail tidy that fits your specific year model and you'll be right, you won't have anything to worry about. Again, I probably wouldn't recommend replacing the LED indicators because the stock ones are a nice high quality unit and you can keep the pegs on. And yeah, overall, really, really impressed with the product, really impressed with the end result. While it would be a little bit cleaner if those boots were kind of, a little bit wider on the narrow end to allow the plugs through, that'd be great. And I do think that probably my other one criticism was the heat shrink that they'd provided. That was a little bit narrow for, again, like the plugs on the standard indicators, and as a result, I could have gone out and bought some, but I was lazy. I just wanted to get the job done, and a wider diameter heat shrink for the wiring would help if you're, again, using those standard indicators. But small complaint there, really, at the end of the day. And obviously they're going to prioritize trying to sell their own LED indicators, which is fair enough. So that's my thoughts on the R&G tail tidy. Huge improvement for the little Sparkpillion 401. Is a kind of a pricier modification, so whether you're willing to kind of put that money in or not is really up to you. But at the same time, if you're looking on eBay or similar and you're seeing really simple 2 mounting point systems, I'll put a photo up on the screen on what I found didn't work, just so that you can avoid that. Yeah, I'd avoid that. I'd spend your money on a quality product and you'll be happy at the end of the day.